when is a communication a dialogue? Because not all forms of communication are a dialogue. And so we could say what sort of cooperation is a dialogue, and we could say what sort of relationship, internal and external relationship, is a dialogue. I think that any money that the government spends is the money that you spend for your own people. So the idea of spending money for the development of other people is always something a bit difficult, because surely you are taking money out of the amount of money that you're spending for your people, but you are getting the money from your people. So you need to give an explanation for that. You cannot just loot somebody, you loot your taxpayers for the benefit of others. Now, this question is not properly received by the government, it's not properly received by the media, it's somehow covered up. It should come more explicit. I think that the public is correct to be skeptic about development aid, because the issue of communication clearly, or why do we do development aid, is not raised. And if that issue is not raised clearly, people is perfectly correct in saying why we should spend. Doesn't matter if it is a big or smaller portion, why we should do it all. And that issue is not clearly said. And I think one of the reasons is the responsibility of the media people themselves. You know, whoever is in power, not only in democratic countries, especially in democratic countries, but it's always whoever is in power, anyhow has to get the approval of the public. If you're not approved by the public, maybe through election or through other means, you'll get out. So now, to get approval of the public, you need to communicate with the public. Now, media people formally are those responsible of communicating to the public, but formally. In reality, they have their own business, so they communicate to the public what is easier for them to communicate. So they don't take up big headache of communicating to the public the right thing, because they also want to get credit. They want to show up to the public as smart newsmakers. They want to show up to their bosses as those who are able to get a big audience. Now, to tell truth usually may not be the fastest way to get credit, and probably it's not the best way to get audience. So you try to please them. And the general presupposition, which I think is wrong, but the general presupposition of the newsmakers is that we get so much respect from our community as much we suspect the others. Like, this is a typical problem, for instance, of Benares. Here you have a strong Muslim community, I have a strong Hindu community. Now, to explain to your community what you should do for the development, what you should do for peace, is very difficult. But to explain to your community how much they should be scared of the other community, that's much easier. You see, oh, see, they are dangerous, they will believe you. No? Much more easy, especially if I create a small problem and say, we must get ready because we may, no, that's much easier. So I get much faster credit from my community if I speak wrong of somebody else's community. It's faster. Now, probably this is not in the interest of my own community, it's in the interest of me. Now, to spread suspect, to spread fear, I'm not serving my community, but I'm serving me, showing up as I'm serving the community. Now, newsmakers do the same. So newsmakers try to get credit from their own audience by sharing suspects, fears, doubts, what do they do, as a politician, since they have to reach the public, and they have to reach the public through journalism, because that's the way that the communication is set, they are interfaced, then they end up serving the purpose that the journalists serve, thinking but which in fact the journalists are setting for themselves. Now, we have, let's go back to the, so this is a form of communication which is not a dialogue. Journalists surely communicate, but do not enter into dialogue often, neither with their own public, because when you are in a dialogue, you tell the other person, the other counterpart, what you really think, and wait for an answer, but you say what you think. If I tell you what you would like to listen from me, I'm not in a dialogue. Clear? Yeah. So that's not a dialogue approach. It's not a dialogue approach from the government officers, who again are not proposing something. You're saying that you should be frank, you should go to the people with proposal. They're not proposing something. They try to please the public. Actually, no, they try to please the journalist, because that's the way that they can do in order to please the public. So if we portray our national interest or our community interest, which is the same, community with other communities, no? Nation with other nations, as something competitive with the interest of the others, in the source, so we lose game. If they gain, we stand to lose. So we should, in the win-lose game, like if they have more business, we will have less business. Then you cannot have any other form of development aid as just a way to show up to the other countries something that actually you don't want. Like for instance, you want to influence the governments there, for instance, because you may want contracts in the oil industry. And in order to influence the government there, you bring money, you let them administer, you speak as a foreign aid, but actually you're getting contracts there. That is something that also relatively easy to explain to the public. It's our national interest to get oil contracts there. So let's spend some money for development assistance just to have a make-up that we are smart guys, that we're not corrupting the government officers. It's a way of corrupting them in a more decent, civilized way. We are interested into oil contracts. This is something that probably the public, or at least what the journalists think about the public, will support. If we're entering into issues like instead of global governance, something that we know is in the interest of all communities, but not of one specific community, because it's the interest of everybody. Like for instance, climate change, no? Or like sharing the knowledge, reciprocal education, or as you say, create a better climate of understanding. This is something that is going to benefit the whole community, but not empowering one over the other. This is a shared empowerment, but it's not empowering somebody at the cost of somebody else. Now, this is something that requires a different mentality. That maybe also sometimes politicians would like to do, maybe also journalists would like to do it, but since simply they don't know how to communicate that, because they are so used to communicate in conflicting manner. They are so used to explain the things on the basis of competition and conflict, that whenever there is some work to be done which is beneficial to everybody, they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to present about it. They don't know how to deal about it. They don't know who should approve it. Because you are contributing to something that goes in the benefit of everybody. But you're taking something out of your pocket. It's something like suppose if we are here in a small community. Something like if you say you go into the bathroom and you put it a bit in order, but without anybody looking at you. If everybody were doing, it would be in the interest of everybody. But if you just do it, and the others also don't do it, you're just losing time. So how to do something, how to create trust, that's a very different topic. It's a topic neither politicians, nor the journalists are trained to do.